What is up? Welcome back to Tomahawk'd. I am your host, Rob Fox. I am joined, as always, by Dan Holloway. We're talking Atlanta Braves baseball today. We do this once a week here on the Drinking Bros Sports Podcast Network and on Drinking Bros Sports YouTube. Dan, I'm feeling good today.
Well, anytime we're playing the Mets, it's always fun.
And just clowning.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I got to tell you, this is like... It's so shitty of me, and it's petty and fucking gay, just bitchy. But I really enjoy reading Mets Reddit.
Oh yeah, they're. I mean, it's like listening to Notre Dame fans before college football season starts, almost. But I feel like the Mets carry their delusion way farther into the actual season than most other sports franchises or even college teams.
It's gone if it was there. Mm-hmm. It was there, but it is fucking gone. They are – I don't think I've ever seen a fan base in any sport hate itself so much than the Mets fans do right now.
Yeah.
They – if Daniel Vogelbach read what they say about him in Mets Reddit, he would kill himself.
He had so usually when you hit a ground ball in the infield and the exit velo is 50 miles per hour, typically you don't get doubled up.
Yeah.
But it wasn't they got him by a step and a half.
Yeah,
And it was really bad. And that was a critical moment of the game too. It's some dudes are slow. Matt Olson's slow. But he would have made that a close play. Vogelbach just doesn't have the ability. I think he's worried that if he gets going too fast, he won't be able to stop. You know what I mean? I'm the juggernaut, bitch. And he just fucking runs through the stadium and kills 7 people.
Yeah. That's a fair concern. Somehow the freeze has to stop him with speed, using the speed force or whatever. But, man, so we'll start with the Mets and we'll circle back to what I have at the top. They're down real fucking bad right now. Now, to be fair...
It's only going to get worse depending on what happens with Alonso.
His X-rays were negative.
Okay, good. I don't like people getting hurt.
No. And, thankfully that was so obviously not intentional.
Oh, yeah.
Because remember the day before he had said that shit to Elder, throw it again, which I, by the way, fuck him, but also I don't mind it.
No, I didn't mind. And even I
say fuck him just from, hey, I'm a Braves fan, fuck you.
Right, yeah.
But I do in general for the sport, that's great. I love that shit.
Yeah, he, so I think it was it Carly, what's her name? Kaylee, whatever her name is.
Hartung?
Kroll. Kaylee.
Oh, Kaylee Kroll,
yeah. I think she asked him after the game what he thought about it, and he goes, I don't know, if I hit one off the fucking mezzanine out there, I'd probably be hollering too.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? He hit the shit out of the ball, so what are you going to say?
Absolutely crushed it.
Yeah. But that's been the lone bright spot for them lately. I mean.
Well, they were up. So they're down. We're recording this after 2 of the 3 games. Tonight we have Strider versus Verlander, which could be awesome.
It should be a great game if Verlander holds up his side. Now, the Braves hitters, surprisingly, most of them haven't seen him that much, except for a couple of guys who played in the American League. Acuña's never faced him in the regular season before.
Who hasn't?
Acuña, ever. Not in the regular season anyways.
Has he faced him? When would he have faced him?
Maybe when the Braves played the Astros in the World. No, he was out that year.
He was, so was Verlander. They both were.
Yeah.
Hurt.
So no, I don't think he's ever faced him.
No.
There's a couple of guys in the Braves lineup that have never faced him before.
I imagine Olsen and Murphy have quite a bit, being in the same division as him for a few years.
Yeah, let me look.
But otherwise, you would think it's almost nobody, really.
Olsen's faced him a couple times. Rosario when he was in Cleveland.
Yeah, makes sense.
But Murphy's not in the starting lineup today, so he's not.
Okay, so we have d'Arnaud.
Yeah, d'Arnaud, Ozuna. So Ozuna, Arcia have faced him 2 and 3 times respectively, and then d'Arnaud's faced him 6 times, but that's it for the rest of the lineup. Acuña, Riley, Albies, Harris have never faced him.
Makes sense. It'll be good. I'm excited for this pitching matchup. Should be fun. I'm actually going to have to watch it on mute, basically, unfortunately, because we'll be doing softcore stuff tonight, which sucks because tonight's booth is awesome.
Oh, yeah, it's the four horsemen, right? It's Francoeur, Smoltz, Glavine, and who else?
Francoeur, Smoltz. Oh, Chipper.
Chipper Jones. Yeah, that's right. Yep. I couldn't remember if he was the last one or if it was somebody else. They're doing some golf charity bullshit. I know Austin Riley did his on Monday, I think.
Okay.
And then they're doing something this week with golf. But, yeah, that'll be a cool broadcast. But back to the Mets, they're fucked, man. I mean, Francisco Lindor had a decent year last year.
I just want to say on Lindor, I don't know if it was on when we were doing the baseball show before we switched it to a Braves show, or if I was just saying this to friends and on my Twitter before we did a baseball show or whatever. I hated that signing from the second it happened.
And they almost doubled down and signed Brokey McBrokelegs, too.
Yeah, fucking Correa.
Yeah, it's like, come on,
dude,
man.
Lindor, if you look at his stats, you'll love, I think he had like a 30-homer season, and you love the wins above replacement.
He had 3 in a row.
Okay, and he's got the wins above replacement.
Yeah. Most
of that wins above replacement is from defense. And his WRC plus was always under 120. Like, this dude is not a, $300 million guy, whatever the fuck he is.
No, and he's right now in the middle of a contract, and what should be the prime of his career is having the worst season of his career.
He can't hit. He's never been a great hitter. And now it's just, I mean, he's almost comparable to, like, he is more comparable to Ozzy Albies than he is to, like, prime Correa before Correa died, essentially.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he'll give you some good numbers, but we talked about Albies a week or two ago where it's just like, yeah, the analytics don't really love him.
He's currently like in the high 50s, low 60s ranking-wise for wins above replacement. And that's not what you expect for, what is he, like the 10th highest paid player in the league or some shit?
Yeah, and he's arguably, I guess they have 4 quote-unquote superstars on the team between Alonso, him, and then the 2 pitchers, Verlander and Scherzer. You could count Edwin Diaz if he wasn't hurt, but you can't really have a closer be that central to your team. But, I mean, he's arguably, their second or third most important player on the team. Certainly paid like he's the third. I think Verlander and Scherzer make more per year, but he might have the biggest just dollar amount contract on the team. As far as I know, Alonso's the better hitter. And look, if you're not going to be as good of a hitter as Pete Alonso, who could blame you? Like, that's not really.
Yeah, he's having another great year.
Yeah, that is what it is. But, like, I mean, Lindor is like the second worst hitter in the lineup right now, I think. It's fucking terrible. Defense still good. Defense is still there. He didn't make the play because he couldn't make the play, but he got to a ball last night at short that kept a run from scoring, but he didn't stop the hit or whatever, that I was like, God damn, I can't believe
he's good out there, yeah. But, defense only goes so far if you're giving up bombs. I mean, their team ERA is 4.58.
There's only 2 places where I would pay for glove first, and that is center field and catcher.
Yeah, shortstop these days look, you want a great field. That's why Vaughn Grissom is not in the major leagues, to be honest. But you can't have a guy that's only a defender at that position anymore. That part of baseball is over.
No, and I mean, God, I guess maybe you could do it if it's literally Ozzie Smith reborn or like prime Andrelton Simmons. Maybe. But even then, like, you need a bat there. Catcher, you get so much value out of, framing and shit like that it's fine. It's fine. You can live with that. Center fielder, again, and we'll talk about center field a little bit. The defense is super important there.
Yeah, they rank. They're tied for the 4th worst in home runs allowed. And
they play in they brought in the fences, but they play in a fucking big ballpark.
Yeah, and then they're in the bottom. They're 8th worst in the league in walks as well. Like, you can't do both of those things.
No,
you can't walk a lot of people and give up a lot of home runs because there's no defense for either one of those. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter how good your goddamn defense is.
Right. The same way you can't. There's no way to really get on base if you're striking out, barring, I guess, a dropped third strike that you know. But it's the same way for that. You can't. There's nothing you can do to prevent it, and that's what really was supposed to be their strength, right? Like the lineup, it was always just okay. It was the fact that they had those 2 killers at the top in Verlander and Scherzer, and then unfortunately for them, their best closer in baseball arguably got hurt, and Diaz, but they're supposed to have a good bullpen too. Everything's just falling apart right now.
Yeah.
They have the ninth worst ERA in baseball.
The middle guys are like the mid guys on their team. The role players are still doing pretty well. Like Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil, they're just having standard seasons for those two guys.
Yeah.
And they're contact hitters, so it's not going to vary that much year to year typically for guys like that. But I whatever you want to say about keeping Lindor in the 3-hole this whole time, despite the fact that his on-base percentage is .290, he's hitting .216, he's slugging .419. I mean, in the 3-hole with two guys with a .356 and .374 on-base percentage in front of you, and you still aren't scoring runs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's really just left up to Pete Alonso. And look, he's going to hit you a bunch of home runs and drive in a bunch of runs, but he's going to hit 220, 230. You know what I mean? So somebody's got to pick up the slack, and there's just nobody in this lineup that's capable of doing it.
Well, and the crazy thing too is you see Mets fans talk about it all the time, is like, we're the type of team, outside of Alonso, we don't hit a lot of home runs. We have to string together hits, right? So if the two guys at 1 and 2 are doing their jobs, and as a team, you have to keep getting hits, right? Keep getting base hits and walks. You got to bury Lindor.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, what's that meme where you're just like poking the stick figures, like poking someone with the sticks, do something.
Yeah.
You can't just do that to a guy because you're paying him hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Like, you got to win and just figure it the fuck out from there. It's and maybe he'll figure it out, but like, you can't. It's like we were going insane about that with Ozuna, right? It's like, I don't care that he's making $60 million. Like, he's not fucking doing anything.
Yeah.
You gotta, at some point, you gotta eat it and just move on. And it's the only bright side for the Mets is that they're 2.5 games out of the wild card, and the National League kind of sucks. Like, is there anyone other than maybe the Dodgers that you're like, sure?
I think the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks are definitely going to be playoff teams. That much is pretty much written. The question's going to be whether 2 NL East teams make it in, whether it's Marlins, Mets, Marlins, Philly. I think the Marlins are going to be pretty secure in there, especially after they brought this new young pitcher up. They're looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's going to be, one NL East team as a wild card and one NL West team, or if it's going to be 2 of either. It doesn't look like a Central team, other than Pittsburgh, is going to make it in now. I just don't see them. Like, the Reds are on a bit of a hot streak right now, even though they lost yesterday, but they've got some young players up, so they may get a boost for a couple of weeks. But that isn't usually the kind of stuff that lasts for the rest of the season. And the Cubs and Cardinals, neither of them look particularly good either. So
the Cardinals have the worst record in the National League.
Yeah. So we're looking at maybe, and the Padres, by the way, haven't been able to put it together for whatever reason. Although they're having not the worst season, they're doing okay. It's just that's not good enough.
Not with that payroll, not with that lineup. If we were in and if we were an NL West team, I would be talking about the Padres quite a bit. The Padres are Mets West right now, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the National League, they're just looking at the field right now. There's still the trade deadline and all this shit, but like the only team that has as much talent across the board as the Braves is probably the Dodgers. Mm-hmm. Everyone else is deeply flawed. Not to say that they couldn't win. The Braves won their World Series with their most flawed team, arguably. Mm-hmm. But I mean, just in terms of like roster construction right now, like I don't give a fuck about the Brewers. The Pirates are full of shit. I think the Diamondbacks are for real. After watching that series,
they're for real. But it's like, of all the teams with records over 550, they have the slimmest margin for error. They're only 28 plus on the run differential after 60 games. That's not great, to be honest. They're winning a lot of close games, which is good, but it's almost like BABIP or like FIP and stuff like that. When I look at numbers like that, I'm like, all right, something's going on here.
Getting a little lucky.
Yeah, you're not going to last. Like, the bullpen just isn't going to last forever. They have a couple of good pieces. Chafin's good. And they got one other good arm out in that bullpen that's pretty standard.
But there's not much depth to the rotation. No. I think Gallen. I think they have the Cy Young front runner right now.
Unless unless something goes completely off the rails, he'll probably win.
But their run differential, it's only plus 28. You know what's funny looking at these standings, by the way? The only team in the NL Central with a positive run differential is the fucking Cardinals, and it's +1.
And they're the worst team. Well.
They're actually the
second worst team, yeah.
The Nats passed them. The Braves, by the way, are the only team in the NL East that has a positive run differential, which is +67, and that's the best one in the National League. Whereas the American League, they've got a couple real good run differentials.
The Rangers and the Rays are just lighting it up.
Yep.
But I don't think to be honest, the Rangers are probably kind of a paper tiger that are beating up on some weak teams and scoring a fuckload of runs. But the rotation, especially DeGrom's out for the rest of the year. He's going to get TJ. So they'll probably start a slide here pretty soon. But that's they've got a well-constructed roster. I think it was a huge mistake to sign DeGrom. And we talked about it in the offseason. It'd be neat if the Braves had him, but he's only going to pitch like 7 games, so what's the fucking point? And here we are, right?
And I think the Rangers are what I would call a really fantastic regular season team, because their lineup is so relentless that it's just you're going to have to score 4.5, 5 runs a game to beat them. But the rotation and the bullpen, their closer right now is our old friend, Will Smith.
Yeah, I'm not too concerned about him in the playoffs.
Hey, look, he's having a great year. 2.86 ERA, 11 saves, .86 WHIP, which is the most un-Will Smith-like thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, no shit.
But yeah, their rotation: Eovaldi, John Gray, Martin Perret, Dane Dunning.
Eovaldi and John Gray are both having career years right now, and that's we all knew that they were going to have a great offense. Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, Adolis Garcia, Taveras in center, Mitch Garver is even having a good year. Everybody knew they were going to have a great offense. But this Eovaldi and Gray, maybe they have the best years of their career, but it's that is a good regular season team. I don't think you can win a World Series with 2 top starters unless you've got like a super deep bullpen these days.
Yeah, I mean, even when
the
Royals won the World Series, like they had Cueto and I forget that someone else. Had Yordano Ventura died yet when they won the World Series?
No, he died in like 17. Didn't
he? They had a couple good starters. The Royals did. But yeah,
he died in 17.
Okay. But for me, I just look at the Mets right now and I'm like, do you just sell? And then they could do a quick rebuild, right?
What pieces do you sell from that team?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because nobody's taking that Lindor contract. You just got to eat that one.
Got to eat shit on Lindor.
I don't know what like their biggest. When I look at unless you need a fucking really good defensive outfielder and a guy that makes a lot of contact with Nemo. But Marte's been hurt a lot the last couple of years, and he's had, he's not having a great year. Great defensive guy. So if you need, but are you going to really make a trade like that and platoon him? I don't know. It's
just interesting because they're pretty old. Marte's 34. Lindor is, I guess, only 29. Alonso's 28, but then you got obviously Scherzer and fucking Verlander are old as shit. Nemo's 30, McNeil's 31, Kana's 34.
Nemo just signed a 5-year contract extension too, so it seems unlikely they're gonna.
I guess they
part
just
ways with him.
They're probably just gonna have to eat shit on this year. Keep that roster as constructed. This is what I would do actually. Is I would eat shit on this year. Whatever happens, happens. Maybe you need to fire your front office and bring in new people and just supplement the roster the way it's supposed to be.
I mean, I might, if I were them, the only person I would really be looking at trading is probably Starling Marte. I think he's probably got the most value because he just crushes left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
He's hitting 100 points higher, has a 100-point higher OPS against left-handed pitching. And again, he is a great defensive right fielder. I mean, he's top 10 in Major League Baseball for sure for defensive outfielders in general. So Maybe him. I don't know.
Yeah, with the age, that's
he's
going to
be 35 next year. I don't know. Like, do you drag him into a fucking soft rebuild? That doesn't make a lot of sense if you can get some value for him, because they're going to start realizing here pretty soon within the next month or so that they have no chance of winning this division.
No,
or even making the playoffs probably.
No, it's right now it's a horribly constructed roster, specifically in the lineup. There's just nothing there. And they're not going to be able to get rid of a guy like Vogelbach. They're just going to have to DFA him or some shit. Like, it's
probably, yeah. He's been cut before. It wouldn't be surprising to see him get cut again.
Speaking of teams that I guess were fucked, the Braves had to have another meeting in the desert almost a year to the day after their famous meeting last year when they dropped 2 of 3 to the then awful, they're not bad this year, but they were really bad last year, Diamondbacks, which had them falling 10 games behind the 2022 Mets. Famously, they had that meeting, and then the Braves went on something like a 14-game winning streak or something like that. Got themselves like 4 back of the Mets. We all know the history from there, whatever. But they had another meeting in the desert after basically just like a pretty mid 2 weeks where they weren't really playing up to snuff. I mean, we both kind of were watching, and it was kind of obnoxious, just like the way they were. Yeah. It wasn't anything as bad as the start to last year, but it was just middling.
It seemed like a lack of focus. And interestingly enough, I wouldn't expect it from Austin Riley, but more than anybody else, he's the one that's turned it around. So I don't know if it's just that could be a coincidence, because he is historically a bit of a slow starter. But a lot of it, I think, still centers around Ozuna. I think he's a cancer. He's lazy and fucking stupid, and it has to. I don't know about Ronnie, but it definitely has to grind on Ozzy, because he just doesn't. I mean, you've seen him yell at Ozuna a number of times over the last year or two about doing stupid bullshit. So.
The base running in particular, Ozuna had a terrible out, actually. I think was that against Arizona?
I don't remember, but he got benched.
Yeah,
he got pulled from a game for not hustling.
It's horrifying.
Like you're making fucking, $13 million a year or something, whatever the fuck you make. It's $13 million a year. You're not hustling down the first baseline,
or even just paying attention on the base. I mean, you're making shit that like. You would yell, you'd be mean about it necessarily, but you would yell at like a 7th grader who made that base running mistake. You'd be like, Brendan, Braxton, what the fuck are you doing? Come on, man.
Riley.
Yeah, pay attention.
I hate him. Every time he comes to bat, I just get mad.
Yeah.
Every time I see his stupid fucking face, I want him gone.
It's not good. I really begrudgingly... I don't even root for him, but I begrudgingly, I suppose, root for him to succeed when I am forced to root for him to succeed. He's brought his WRC plus up to 110. It was floating in the 80s. Yeah. So
he's definitely had some improvement, but it's still, his approach at the plate still looks like it's just random. I think he's just having success now, but I don't think he's changed anything.
No, it doesn't ever look like that person has a plan. Like, it doesn't look like he knows what's happening. Like, he's just like, I strong, I swing.
He's like Pedro Serrano. Fuck you, Jobu. I'll do it myself. He's a clown. The other guy that's kind of, it's not just Riley who's turned it around a little bit. AJ Minter has also sharpened up quite a bit.
Yep, he looked great last night.
He's had, 5 consecutive appearances now without giving up a run, and only, I think, 1 base runner in those 5 appearances as well. Definitely.
Was that last night, too?
No, it was a walk on Tuesday.
Okay.
But nothing last night. So he's turned it around, and he's a big piece for them, too. He gives Rizzo Iglesias a little bit of breathing room and a day off from time to time.
Yes.
Which is nice.
Well, and then once the games start getting really big, I guess eventually, he's part of the group that would make it a 7-inning game or 6-inning game.
Yeah, Nick Anderson's kind of stepped up as that other guy as well. He's had 4 consecutive appearances without giving up a run or allowing an inherited runners to score. So yeah, he's looking pretty good too. We'll see, man. I mean, there's some chance still that once the playoffs start, one of our starters gets pushed into the bullpen. We'll see how it goes between now and then.
Yeah, depending on health. Another person who has at least had a hell of a series. I don't know if I want to go so far as stepped it up yet. Eddie Rosario had an incredible series against the Diamondbacks. Obviously, that game-winning go-ahead grand slam in the top of the ninth that he absolutely crushed.
Yeah, he hit that ball hard.
He had 2 home runs, I think, in the loss, though. Didn't he? Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was in the loss to Arizona in Game 1. But even and then in Game 1 against the Mets, he was 1 for 4. Game 2 against Arizona, he was 2 for 4 with RBI. So he had 7 RBI in the 3-game series against Arizona. I hope that he's turning it around. He is still underwater on WRC Plus, and his on base percentage is still, what a double-A guy could pull, 276.
And Harris has started to swing the bat a little bit better as well.
Did last night.
Certainly last night. He's looked good in some recent at-bats. I still think his approach is a little fucked up, but he's young. He doesn't even technically have a full season worth of games under his belt, I think. Yeah, he's at like 153 total for his career so far.
Yeah.
So, growing pains there. The good news is that the fucking defense is still there for everybody, actually. That there are no poor defenders on the Braves.
Nope.
Interestingly enough.
Nope. We'll get to that in a second. But real quick, we are sponsored, of course, by MyBookie. Go to mybookie.com. Use the promo code DrinkinBros to double your first deposit up to $1,000. So basically what that means is you put $500 in, they'll give you a free $500. You put $1,000 in, they'll give you a free $1,000. You put $20 in, they'll give you a free $20. Whatever. It's however much or little you want to double up at mybookie.com. And as always, we like to bet on baseball. I was texting you the other day because I thought my parlay was hitting and all I needed was the Braves to come back. I hadn't realized that the Dodgers blew a 2-run lead in the ninth to the fucking Reds.
Yeah.
Costing me $1,000. I mean, it was a $50 parlay, but it cost me $1,000. Unfucking believable. I was just what's that guy's name? The new guy? Ellie
something or other. Yeah, he had a fucking 458-foot bomb.
That was the day after.
Yeah.
But he came up that day where they had the big comebacks. It was just all this fucking Ellie magic. And I remember when I was putting in that bet, part of me was like, oh man, I could see the Reds winning this game just as a little fucking morale fan boost. There's magic in the air because they're like generational talents coming up. But then logical side of me was like, shut up, they're the Reds. But
yeah, well, you fucking played yourself.
Apparently, yeah. Did you see that I saw some stat today that his home run went so high in the air that it showed up on Cincinnati's airport radar?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Are you sure about that, or are they just saying that shit?
No. It was not from the Reds. It was from an independent account it was Baseballer on Instagram or whatever.
That's pretty funny. It had a great call. The guy just yelled that baseball had a family after he hit it. So,
well, Reds announcers are known for their great calls.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's mybookie.com. Use the promo code DrinkinBros to double your first spot up to $1,000. Back to that defense, specifically the outfield defense. I came across this on Twitter. According to SIS Baseball, since May 20th, the Braves rank first in getting outs on balls hit in the air in the outfield. They've turned 67% of the balls hit in the air in the outfield into outs, which is 8 percentage points higher than the MLB average. Harris and Acuña obviously both had those insane catches last night. Acuña's in particular. If that ball drops, the Braves don't win that game.
Yeah, that's a 3-run double.
Yeah.
So definitely a game-saving play there.
That is, I tweeted this last night. It still blows my mind that he is not positively rated defensively by metrics.
Yeah, I don't get it because he also gets quite a few outfield assists. Like, what is it? It's not range factor.
It can't
certainly,
be.
Right? I don't know what it is. I never really looked into it that much, but it seems like he would have a pretty good rating.
Yeah, and defensive metrics to me, there's quite a bit of things I guess they don't take into account. I feel like they for first base, because we always used to bitch about Freeman, I don't think they take into account very well sort of bad throws saved on the infield. You know what I mean? Scoops, essentially. And I think, I wouldn't blame them necessarily for not taking this into account, but the amount of bases not taken just because they don't even want to run on Acuña.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you would have to take the league average, I guess, for first to third and base it on exit velo maybe.
Yeah.
And then see how many people attempt it versus how many people don't on him. I mean, it feels like there would be a way to get that number, though.
Agreed. And same with, tag up depth, right? Is he the type of thing where you have to hit a ball 5 feet further back to have a sac fly in right field versus your sort of fictional, just like outfielder, your replacement outfielder or whatever. I watch him play defense and I don't understand it. Like and then he just makes that play last night, extremely athletic play. I thought that was going off. I thought that was going to go off higher up the brick. Actually, I was like, fuck. And then I actually almost thought he was misplaying it. I was like, he's getting so close. Like that ball's so popped up, it's going to hit the brick and bounce. I think Harris was backing it up though. The one thing I will say about him is I haven't noticed it this year, but we talked about it last year that he not great at backing up Harris in center.
Yeah. Not that you necessarily need to all the time, but you should certainly. He does play. I don't know. This year is his first year that since the shortened season that he's had a positive defensive wins above replacement. He's at 0.3 right now.
And by the way, he just got over into the positive. Yeah. He's been negative for most of the year.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't even know what the algorithm is for defensive
WAR
wins above replacement.
Yeah.
I think defensive runs saved is a better metric, but I don't even know where he ranks on that one either.
I don't. It's probably not that great. Even with DRS though, there would be times I used to look at it for Andrels and Simmons back in the day, and like there would be one year where he'd have like 20 or something crazy like that, and then the very next year he'd have like 5, and I'd be like, what changed?
I don't know, but what I do know about that metric is that for a career, Andrew Jones is like a couple of dozen ahead of anybody else, including Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Right? So that makes sense to me, I guess, because Willie got slow when he got older. We romanticize him because he was so great when he was younger, and I guess Andrew did to some degree as well, but nobody played center field like Andrew Jones. He's definitely the best defensive center fielder ever.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Willie Mays obviously quite a bit better hitter than Andrew.
And more consistent as a hitter as well.
Yeah.
Played longer. Well, he had a longer peak, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But anyways, I don't know about Ronald's defense. I mean, it looks good to me.
Yeah, it looks fine. And then honestly, what's really great about all of that is I think we have one of the best defensive right fielders in baseball. It's called top 5, just whatever. I think we have the best defensive center fielder in baseball.
Range, tracking the ball, stealing home runs on a regular basis, and then the arm. Yeah, I don't know who else would compete with him.
Yeah, I mean, you could make a case, even though he's also not having a good year, I guess you could make a case that you'd rather have like Julio Rodriguez, maybe, but I'll take Harris.
Maybe.
And then, honestly, they're both so good that I guess trotting Eddie out in left is fine. You know what I mean? Like, he's fine. And then if you have a lead, especially in the playoffs or late in the regular season, if, the Marlins are still right on our heels, 7th inning on, whatever, you're either putting Kevin Pillar or Sam Hilliard out there, who are both 2 excellent defensive center fielders, so nothing's dropping at that point.
Yeah, it's a pretty that's a pretty decent problem to have, I guess. Although I still would like them to make a move and get a solid left fielder. I don't think any of these guys are a solution.
Certainly Pillar's role at this point is bench guy, right?
Yeah.
He'll get in there on random days off when needed or whatever, and then obviously defensive replacement. I think Sam Hilliard is, if anything, more of a pinch runner at this point. They pinch ran for him last night.
They haven't been using him much.
They haven't, and they used him as a pinch runner last night for Ozuna, which I thought was an excellent choice. Hilliard stole third, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. He's only had 15 at-bats since the beginning of May.
Sweet.
Yeah. After hitting 296 in April.
And just hitting bombs, too. I don't know what the deal is with that.
I don't either.
It's, I don't know. Left field's weird, but if our worst defender on the entire field is Eddie Rosario in the least important defensive position, I'll be all right with that because you've got, the infield's perfect. I have no notes on the infield, and I have no notes on 2/3 of the outfield. And then I guess he's hurt right now. We've even got a Gold Glove pitcher in Fried.
Yeah, and the catcher position, it doesn't matter who's in. Murphy's definitely got the better arm.
Yes.
Well, I don't know if he's got a better arm, but his whatever combination of arm, footwork,
pop,
and release, whatever it is, he's top tier. He might be the best in the league at throwing out base runners right now.
It's at this point, it'd be like him or Real Muto.
Yeah, like independent of the pitcher, I think Murphy's one of the better ones I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. Him and Ronald, I think, are tied for third in wins above replacement right now as of today.
Makes sense.
And Murphy has done it in 10 last games.
Yeah.
Wander Franco is
he's way ahead of everybody.
Currently leading by like 0.2 or something like that, which is not a necessarily small amount.
Yeah.
Last topic, pretty exciting. We saw him pitch the other day in Arizona, the Braves. He's our best pitching prospect, right? He's our number 4 prospect, but I think he might be the number 1 pitcher.
Yeah, well, he wasn't at the beginning of the year. It was, what's that kid's name? I can't remember his name, but there was another guy that was ahead of him at the beginning of the year because if you look at his stats from the minor leagues, right, he didn't get good until this year.
Shawver.
Smith-Shawver got banged around a little bit. So, let's see. He came up in – fuck out of here. He came up came into the league.
Is it 21 in the minors?
Yeah, I think it was 20.
There was no minors in the 20. So.
Yeah, I think 21 was his first year, but that was actually the year he got drafted too, so he didn't sit out much. He got banged around a little bit in his first season, a little bit, and that was in rookie ball, and then in high A in 22. I think he had like a 4.58 ERA or some shit like that last year, or 5.60 maybe. I can't remember.
5.11.
5.11. Okay, so and then this year, just fucking started at A ball, mowed it down, Double A mowed it down, Triple A mowed it down. They're like, fuck this. I mean, he only pitched like 2 or 3 starts in each one of those levels.
So he pitched 3 starts, 14 innings in A+ ball.
Mm-hmm. That's high A ball, yeah.
0 ERA.
Yep.
He pitched 7 innings in Double A.
2 games.
Two games.
Yeah. And then 3 starts.
0 ERA.
Yeah.
And then 2 starts, 12 innings total at Triple A and 3 ERA.
Yeah.
And he's not getting lucky. His FIP is 1.41.
His WHIP is 94.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 45 Ks in 33 innings. And we saw it on display Sunday against Arizona. He
looked
came
good.
in and just mowed people the fuck down. The only reason he was taken out of that game is because it was a situational thing, and they were just going to change pitchers anyways. And also, you want to have a positive first start. You don't want a guy to come in and dominate and then get rocked around a little bit. They wanted to give him 9 batters, and that's what they did, basically.
So he is slated to start against the Nationals, much like Soroka getting his comeback against the A's. We're trying to, ease AJ, I guess, in. My assumption is he'll throw Friday, June 9th, because that was Soroka's slot. He's the day after Strider. So what, tomorrow? Okay. Or today, I guess, when this is airing. What are you looking for from him? What do you expect out of Smith-Shawver? He's of note, not that it's that big of a deal because it's the Nats, but this slot, if he keeps starting, this slot is the number 1 starter slot for other teams.
Right. Well, I mean, it changes up depending on off days and stuff, but yeah.
Right now it is.
Would be, yeah.
Yeah, because Soroka just pitched against Zach Gallen, and then Smith-Shawver, God, I hate hyphenates. Smith-Shawver gets Josiah Gray, who's a very good pitcher.
Yeah, he is. He's probably their best.
Easily.
I mean, it would be nicer if he was going up against Patrick Corbin or something, but because we always destroy that guy. But the Nats have actually they're not winning a lot of games or anything, but the offense is not that bad. Their problem is mostly pitching. Like if you look up and down their lineup, you're 281, 271, 253, 305, 255, 265. This isn't like a bunch of scrubs and shit.
Yeah.
They're doing all right offensively so far this year. They don't have any superstars or anything like that anymore. After, losing, I think Bell left and
they traded away Scherzer and Turner.
And Turner and
Anthony Rendon obviously left via free agency.
Yeah, and then Soto is gone as well.
Yeah.
It's like they've been picked clean, but this is a good lineup to get your first start against. They do strike out a lot. I think Zach Davies struck out 8 against them just last week. So I honestly, what I expect out of this kid, he seemed to have pretty good composure. We didn't really see him get in trouble or anything. He did pitch one time after a walk and got an out afterwards, and then they took him out, I think. But we haven't seen him get in trouble yet, so it's hard to say what to really expect because there will be base runners. He's not going to come out and throw a no-hitter his first game. So that's what I'm looking for is how he pitches from the stretch, and if he can pitch situationally, like does he go hunting bats to get a double play, or does he pitch up in the zone to get a pop-up with one out and a guy on third or something like that? How smart is the guy? Luckily, he's got 2 good, really pitch callers behind the plate to work with. But I'm looking not that I want to see him get in trouble, but that's what I'm going to be paying attention to.
I wonder if Murphy is not in today. I don't know if it's just a planned day off or if they're like having him out because they want him to catch Smith-Shawver tomorrow, and maybe I don't know. He's working with him a little extra, so don't.
Maybe yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, don't worry about. Strider doesn't need you.
Right. Yeah. He's all set. I mean, everybody knows what Strider's going to throw and when, and they can't hit it anyways most of the time.
Right. Like Travis can handle Strider. It's fine.
Yeah. And Travis is a really good pitch caller. He's a good game caller, and he's also really good at framing.
You can't go wrong with either of those guys.
But he can't hold base runners on, so I don't know if you want your best arm behind the plate thing because it's kind of wasted, But I just digging into this Smith-Shawver kid a little bit. So he never played baseball, I guess, competitively until his senior year of high school, which was 2 years ago.
So infuriating.
And then last year, or he 2.5 years ago, and then 2 years ago he played in rookie ball. A year ago he played in low A, and then this year he's gone through 3 levels to get to the major leagues, and now he's about to get his first start tomorrow or Saturday. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and so he is I guess relatively similar repertoire, not in terms of velocity, but in terms to Strider in terms of just what he throws.
I mean, he does throw in the high 90s.
Yeah, but he lives at like 96.
Yeah,
from what I could tell. Whereas Strider is 97 to 100. Although, like we said, he's kind of. It seems like he's dialed it back a little bit this year.
Yeah, he's definitely not pumping in 99, 100 much. I don't see that much. But it's probably, I'm assuming he's doing that on purpose. But yes, Smith-Shawver, I saw him mostly 95 to 97. He's still he's 20 years old. He doesn't turn 21 until after the season.
Right. He's not even. He's not a man yet.
No,
he doesn't have the muscle, the full body, anything yet.
He's 6'3", 205. He's going to be 6'3", 225 probably in 2 or 3 years. So. Big arm, not a lot of miles on it. That's nice. So he's probably not going to have his first TJ until his late 20s. That's nice. But I'm just looking at how this Braves rotation rounds out if this guy keeps he's obviously got great stuff. It's going to be about his makeup, his approach. But I'm, looking forward to a rotation that's Spencer Strider, Bryce Elder, Smith-Shawver, and Max Fried, and whomever else you can throw in there. Because it doesn't really matter after that, to be honest. That's the most dominant rotation in baseball by a pretty wide margin if this kid works out. So
extremely cost controlled as well, with the exception of, I guess, Fried. If we keep Fried around, he'll be getting his.
They should. Look, they should let Morton go and not pay him $23 million again, and give like split that in half, give half of that money to bump up Max's salary and keep him on as the fucking head of the rotation. That should be the deal. I mean, otherwise, what are you saving all this fucking money for?
Right, by signing all these kind of sweetheart deal contracts. And by the way, though, we were kind of confused about the Morton signing in the offseason. Like, again, we're running that back. Like, that's what we want to do. Not dumb so far.
No, and he's an anchor. You know, he's a guy that'll get you. He's going to eat up 5 or 6 innings every game. He doesn't. It's very rare that he doesn't go 5 or 6. And I guess that's a premium these days, right?
Right.
Especially while you're developing these young guys, because we still don't know what's going to happen with Soroka. If he's going to be able to put it together maybe this year. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him again this year, frankly.
If we don't see him again?
If we do.
Oh, I think we will.
Yeah, I think August or September you'll see him pop up again. Schuster I'm not so sure about, but he's lefty, so he's always going to get another chance no matter what.
Yeah, I think at this point, barring injury, the only 2 people that well, I guess 3 is we've got 3 lockdown spots, which is Morton, Strider, and Elder.
Yeah.
And then the other 2, Fried will be back.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point that slot is filled, and then
so he got moved to the 60-day DL, but it's procedural.
Yeah,
just to open up a roster spot. He's still on track to come back at the same time, which is probably honestly, I'd be shocked if they bring him back before the All-Star break. Just what's the point? You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Let him fucking rest and come back and pitch fucking 12 games down the stretch and just be on fire.
And honestly,
actually, I guess it'd be 11 games.
It's not. I'm not taking the Marlins for granted. Like, they're only 3 games back, and it's only June. But I don't know if the Marlins are your closest competitor in the division, and you're playing well, and you had a meeting about, hey guys, we need to just bump up the effort a little bit, and you immediately rip off 4 wins in a row, like against one team that has a great record and a pretty good roster, and another team that I guess should have a good roster but not a great record. It's 2 quality teams you've won series against now in a row. I think you were all right. I think you can just keep the ship steady, right? Like keep it on cruise control. Do your job. If you do your job, things will be fine.
Yeah.
It's not. This team doesn't need to make some Herculean effort to accomplish what it wants to accomplish in the regular season.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see. My guess is we probably won't at any point address the rotation in the trade deadline unless we find out something about Kyle Wright maybe not being able to come back and they don't want to rely on Shawver and can't rely on Soroka.
Yeah. Honestly, I forgot Kyle Wright even existed.
You mean our 20-game winner from last year?
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely in a good spot. It would be really nice to figure some of this out and know who what the rotation's going to look like, so they can use some of those other pieces.
Yeah.
To make some moves. I think it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, because if the rotation gets solidified, then you can be like, all right, number one thing is probably just bullpen pieces, just making sure you got an insane bullpen.
I would go out and get a setup man for sure. I would get a right-handed setup man, to back up Minner and turn the game into 6 innings, and I would definitely be looking for a left fielder. I don't think it's a good idea to just hope for the best with these guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want – I mean, their DH should be okay because you can put both catchers at catcher DH. But, yeah, left field, it's the type of thing where you might be getting real shallow on the bench if you've got to be using Hilliard or Pilar on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I agree with that. That is all I've got for today. I'm looking forward to Smith-Shawver starting tonight, or tonight as in when this episode airs, but we are recording on a Thursday, so we'll be watching Strider Verlander. I hope that goes well for us. Should be a fun game. Thank you for listening, and I don't know, that's all I fucking got.
See ya.